Yeah.
So when I was growing up in the late 60s, early 70s, and early 80s, Jerry and I were boyfriend and girlfriend, and Scott would tag along with us all the time, and good-natured way, nice kid. But I do want to make mention of Scott's tremendous ability as a photographer and how he was able to, capture those rather difficult images to get in ski and extreme conditions. So he really will leave a legacy for all of us to see and enjoy with those magnificent photographs that he took.
My name's Stone, and I'm good friends with him, and I know that we've all been left with an empty spot from someone who is so full of life. I thought I'd just come over here and say something, and my heart's just out there. Jerry was able to bring some good light to the situation. Is that we're all lost with words and why and how. But I had a dream and he was in it, or maybe I was in his dream. But this a few weeks ago or a week ago, and it was so true and so real. He was driving. We drove around and around and around, and I was asking him not to do what he did, and he was telling me that he already did it. No matter what could be, there would be no change. So we drove around in his car. He was driving his Toyota truck, and we just drove and drove and drove in sloppy, slushy, snowy roads. And he kept just telling me that I'm okay. I've already lived so many lives. And he was the happiest person I ever knew that took his own life. I'm not sure how, why, what kind of sense we can make of it, but he was happy. And we know that. We also know that he was skiing. We also know that he's up skiing with his friends. We have this pride today. You were skiing with these guys. Forever in our heart, forever in our minds. Chris, Johnny, Jibback, a lot of other friends out there. You guys are all skiing together. We'll see you someday. This is Scott.
Hi everybody, so you probably know me if you don't. Paul Wham, and Scott was one of my best friends. Our mothers were actually pregnant at the same time. We share a birthday in the month of May, and we've always bonded since first grade. And I have a million stories, but I just got a couple I can tell you now. There's one in kindergarten where Scott and I would go, and Scott would call it fertilizing the nest. So is what we would do, the girls would make little forts, and they'd have big leaves around on the walls. And Scott would go, let's go fertilize the nest. And we'd grab the leaves and throw them all over the place. And we thought it was the funniest thing. We go out running, laughing. Girls didn't appreciate that too much, but we had fun. And there's another story I remember young on in first grade when we were throwing dead tree bark at the hippies across the street at Lake Washington High School. An older, like 5th grader told us to do it. So we're throwing the bark, and sure enough, this gal comes and runs out of her car and beelines to Scott and I. Well, of course, Scott is quicker, and he ran and hid, and she got me by the ear and brought me all the way to Sister Mary Pat, and I got the ruler on the knuckles. And of course, Scott thought that was funny because he didn't get in trouble. And another one, we were probably about 4th grade, and we had these old bunk beds. When Scott spent the night, and my brother and I shared a bunk bed. And my mom and dad said, don't climb on that bunk bed, be careful. And sure enough, Scott was swinging on it, because Scott's, the monkey man. And the whole thing comes out, the whole side of the bunk bed, and smashes the goldfish tank behind, a big fish tank with it was not a goldfish, but a big fish tank, and the water goes everywhere, and the fish go flopping out. We're like, oh, what are we gonna do? So sure enough, we got it cleaned up, put everything back together, and Mom and Dad never found out. So we thought that was pretty funny. But I've got a lot more, but I miss you, Scott. I love you, and you're the best friend a friend could have growing up. So take care. Rest in peace. All right. Oh, is it still on? So this is from Scott here. Thank you. I'll always cherish this. Jerry's friend made this for me, so thank you.
Right here, nice Scott. Thank you. Okay.
Hi. I guess I met Scott about 15 years ago. I knew him from just being around Stevens Pass, and then I really noticed him one day at Jack and Clay's party. I noticed his blue eyes from across the room. And I thought, I've got to go talk to him and get to know him. I noticed his smile, and after we talked, I really, really liked him, and I wanted to be with him. So, anyways, we got to know each other and spent a lot of time together. Had a good time. We skied a lot of mountains together. I remember we had a huge winter, 1999 to 2000. It was a big, big winter, like record year. Then the next year, we didn't get a lot of snow, and I probably would have just stayed home on most of the days where it sucked out, but it stayed cold. It was cold and dry, not a lot of snow. And Scott dragged me out every day and was just like, well, we're going to go skiing. I skied more powder that year than anyone. Everyone was complaining about all the snow that year, how there was not enough snow, just a crappy winter. Scott and I skied powder like every day. We just hiked out. I went to places I never would have been. It was pretty awesome. We parted ways, and we still remained really good friends, and we could tell each other everything. And I don't know, he was a really close friend, and this is a hard loss. I'll always remember his smile and his laugh. And I guess I should get a little more specific, but I don't know what to say. But he was awesome. He was somebody I could just tell anything to him. And we knew each other inside and out. And there's not a lot of people that you have that close relationship with, so it's really special. And I think that's it. He was one of my best friends, and I love him. And I'll always miss him. I'll never forget him.
I just wanted to add that Scott was always like the most stoked skier on the mountain, always hooting and hollering, and I luckily got to go to see a lot of his practice jumps. I'd always hang out at the smoke jumper base and get to go to his practice jumps, and I could always tell when Scott jumped out of the plane because he's always hooting and hollering, and I'd always be like, oh, there's Scott, there he is, like he always knew. So anyways, that's it. He was awesome, and I'll always remember him for his happy yahooing and all the fun stuff. So okay, thanks.
Hi, we wanted to clarify a story for you. The story has to do about the 300-pound cop. He actually did lay his hands on Scott, and so we'd like to tell you more about the story. But first, let's introduce ourselves.
Aaron Sullivan.
Eric Carlson.
Lisa Turner.
Kelly Finn.
Melinda Stewart.
Kurt Snyder. And we were all fellow heavy metal addicts, so we went to every show together. Every show. Scott was an anarchist.
Our parents didn't know.
So what Scott did is he took great exception to the police doing anything negative to our fellow heavy metal fans. And one day they were choking out this other guy or shaking him down, and Scott yelled at the top of his lungs, "Fuck you, pigs."
Repeatedly.
Yeah, repeatedly, and he did this for 5 minutes.
PG for a second.
For about 5 minutes at the top of his lungs. What he didn't know is that the Hawaiian cop that we've affectionately called Pineapple was coming up through the line behind him. And we all saw it coming, but he wouldn't listen to us. And he grabbed Scott by the neck, lifted him off the ground, and almost choked him out.
Yeah.
And Lisa can attest, because Lisa was saying what?
I don't remember what I was saying.
She was saying, you can't put your hands on people. We're gonna like call the mayor or something.
Did I really say that?
Yeah, you did. You were like going, you can't do that.
I knew I was freaking out, but I didn't remember what I was saying.
We're gonna tell the mayor of Seattle. Anyway, that was just one of the stories that we had with Scott.
Oh.
and
Yeah.
we're going to miss him very much. And
Yeah.
instead of saying Yahoo, you say Judas.
To get in here too. I thought I haven't seen you forever.
Thank you. Who wants to do a story?
You did good. Oh, that's good.
Okay. All right, Scott. We're going to miss you, buddy. I'm going to tell a story. So, when I first moved from Vancouver, British Columbia, I was 8. And Scott, if you remember, I was the guy who told on you for swimming out to the dock at Houghton Beach with an inner tube. And you did not earn the right to get out there with an inner tube. However, after that, I forced you to be my friend, and you became my first friend. So I've got a couple of really great stories I'll share for everybody, but well, they were talking about the tree story. By the way, the bully was John Greenway, just so everybody knows. And we did call my older brother, who actually took care of that later on. But I'll tell you that one of the great stories we had, well, there's several, but we have a photo that was posted on Facebook, and there was all of us, Mark Martin, Matt Shouty, Greg Anderton, and myself, and we had a day where we were jumping off cliffs about 50 feet into a waterfall, which probably could have killed us. However, we had probably had too many beers. You can take that off the record. And Scott, you wrecked my car. Now granted, I wrecked it first, but then when I flew in the back and I was missing from the driver's seat, you decided instead of the oncoming car hit us again, you drove it into the railing. So you actually wrecked the right side of the car. I wrecked the left side of the car. And then I'll give you one other thing. The one thing that I will say is you were probably one of the strongest humans I knew who's never been to a gym. And you, if you remember, you, Chuck Raceler, myself, used to ride bikes, and Chuck and I would have our biking outfits, and we're riding 150 miles a week, and our bikes weigh 6 pounds. And then one day we went on a ride around Lake Sammamish, and you can ask Chuck this. You had your bike, which must have been from something in the 1970s. It weighed about 45 pounds. And Chuck leans to me and he says, "I can't keep up." We had all the gear and we still couldn't keep up with you. So you will be wonderfully missed. I wish you could have met my boys. Anyhow, Scott, good luck, God bless, and we'll see you another time. Cheers.
Yeah, I just want to share a story about a ski trip into California in the Sierras with Scott, and he was known for not sleeping a lot. He had a lot of extra energy. He could load stuff in his pack and lighten yours that way pretty easily, and legendary strength. But we went up to this camp at a high lake, and we were going to ski a peak the next day. And the next morning we woke up early, you know, just pre-dawn star. We had a little coffee and food, and I looked out on the lake, and there's these just, you know, places where he's stomped out patterns in the snow, you know, out on the middle of the lake. I looked out there, and you kind of make out, oh yeah, that looks sort of vaguely like a tree, that one, and that's something over that way. But we kept going. We headed up to the top of this mountain. It was a good 3,000, 3,500 feet higher. And when I got to the top of the peak, I looked back down at the lake, and there was this perfectly symmetrical, perfectly shaped Christmas tree. There was a skier coming off of a mountaintop, and he had done all this with his skis on in the middle of the night by moonlight, and standing on the surface of the lake, you really couldn't tell what they were. You had to get 3,000 feet above to see the true vision that Scott had in his mind, and I was blown away by it, and then I wanted to share that. So he's an amazing person, blew me away on a lot of levels, and he was quite an artist. Scott, love you.
I loved Scott. He was one of those bright people who you knew was special the minute you met him, and just always appreciated how real and thoughtful and kind he was. And I did something before we came. I looked up Scott's galactic signature on the Mayan calendar, which you can find at lawoftime.org if you're interested in looking deeper, but I want to read it to you. Scott's kin number is 88. He is a yellow planetary star. He was born on the spectral moon, day 5, in the year of the yellow crystal sea. And there's a poem. It says, of kin 88, I perfect in order to beautify, producing art. I seal the store of elegance with the planetary tone of manifestation. I am guided by the power of intelligence. I am a galactic activation portal, enter me. And there was something else I wanted to share with you about today. I'll read you today's kin. It's kin 242. It says, I harmonize in order to communicate, modeling breath. I seal the input of spirit with the galactic tone of integrity. I am guided by the power of death. And I think you all have picked a good day for this. Having read that, I thought that there were some synchronicities and maybe this time of letting go and moving forward with the life of the living. And I can tell you that in Merritt, Washington, where I live, there will be a lot of people celebrating Scott for all of our lives, and we just feel blessed to have known him. So thank you for being his family and bringing us together. We appreciate it.
So Scott came and saw us in Hawaii a couple years back, and Sharon told me that he had to stay with me in my place, and I have a really small place, and he stayed outside in the lanai in this couch that I had, and one morning I got up and I forgot that there was a screen door dividing us, and I walked through the screen door, and the screen door totally landed on my hands, and he's had this crazy laugh, and we forever laughed, you know, every time we saw each other. But that moment, I think that moment is just in my mind so fresh and beautiful. But when Sharon and Scott were together laughing in Hawaii, it was like laughing therapy, no matter what. It was just the most amazing, contagious, infectious laugh that you would ever imagine, and the most beautiful thing, you know, to see them, both of them laugh together. And Sharon invited us to go swim with the dolphins one day, and you know, he was fresh out of the boat, pretty white, and I'm like, hey, don't worry about the sun, it's winter time in Hawaii. You know, I was like, yeah, and what happened? He burned his feet so bad, and it was all my doing, and I felt so bad, but you know, it was good. Anyway, do you want to talk a lot about your story? Should I move now?
No, I just have one thing to show everybody that Scott taught me many years ago, and it just racked my brain, and I had to like go away from him for however many hours or maybe days that it took me to figure out. But okay, one finger one direction and the other finger the other direction.
You can't do it.
I can't do it. Super Scotter trick. That's it.
I can't do it. I have to practice.
Love you, Scott.
Love you, Scott. Be so missed.
That's it.
All right.
Okay.
Wiley. That was good.
My name is Wiley, and Wicklund and Wiley always went together kind of in college. I went to a ski program with him in Wenatchee, and I distinctly remember Scott taking me out telemark skiing for my first time, and of course we were poor college students and we didn't have enough money for the actual real telemark gear. We got cross-country skis that they had from the college, and I just kept telling Scott, you know, we can't telemark ski on this gear. This is like not made for skiing down the hill. It's for going across the hill. Anyway, so Scott takes me out into the backcountry, way up on these pillows of snow, and we got to the very top. And I looked at Scott and I was like, we can't ski down this. This is like 4, you know, big pillow drops in a row. and we were on cross-country skis, which are made for like just walking, you know, whatever. But Scott looks at me and goes, "Woohoo!" Freaking drops in. Of course, he does it perfectly, making me believe that I can do it perfectly. So he comes down and lands. He's like, "Yeah, go for it. It's great, man. It's great." And so I drop in, and of course, me being 6'5", 250 pounds, or 220 back in those days, I drop off and I do a face plant on the first pillow, roll off the next one, and just basically roll down in a big pile of snow, and all the snow comes rolling down. But I distinctly remember Scott, like, on the ground laughing so hard, he was just like, you know, cackling and coughing, and we were like, you know, saliva pouring out. It was just the best. R.I.P. Scott, you're the best man.
You know, I had about 12 minutes ready for Scott, and I think that was a little too long. I kept on messing up when I was reading through it. I shortened it down to 3.5 minutes, and I left out some stuff. One of the things I left out that I think some of his friends might appreciate is that Scott had so many really good friends. It was difficult to figure out who his best friend was. It's been debated who Scott's best friend was. And I think Scott would agree with me when I say that the only way to find out who the best friend was is to have a competition. So we need to have some sort of a race to find out who Scott's best friend really is. And I know it's probably going to be Ed Rundle if we're on an uphill race, but maybe we can mix it up. We can have a different best friend for Scott every single year. That would be fantastic. Unfortunately, I've forgotten all the other stuff that I had written down that filled up the 12 minutes, but I wanted to get that one out because who knows, maybe somebody will actually come out and compete with me to be Scott Wicklund's best friend. Thanks a lot. See you later.
Hi, I'm Mickey. I found this governing values on Scott's computer that he gave me, and I wanted to share with you. So in 2007, Scott's governing values were: I will be helpful to all that I can. I will strive for a spiritual sense of fulfillment. I will be productive and creative. I will not procrastinate to a fault. I will affirm my old friendships and welcome new ones. I will make a living with photographs. I will be thankful at all times for that which I have. I will keep in touch with my family. I will write lists and get them done in a reasonable time frame. And number 10, I will strive for a sense of accomplishment, completeness, well-being, and always maintain a level of excitement and anticipate what every day may offer. And if we could all strive to live through Scott's governing values, I think we'd all be better people. Thanks.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know I have great memories of you, Scott. Always loved your smile and your upbeat attitude. You were always fun. It didn't matter what you were doing or what everyone was doing. You were just kind of a breath of fresh air that everyone needed that everyone needs all the time. Anyways, I hope everything's well. I wish you the best. I love you. Thanks for going to Willie Nelson with me those couple of years. It was the best, and I have great pictures to remember it. Take care, and thanks for always being there and being my friend.
So Scott Wicklund really changed my life in a way that I didn't really know how dramatic it would be, to be honest. It's back in the late 90s. I was in high school in North Seattle, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Didn't even want to go to college or anything. But then one night I saw this TV special on Evening Magazine, and it was about smoke jumpers. And so, I watched through the whole thing, thought it was pretty awesome, just, parachuting into the forest to fight wildfires sounded really fun and exciting. And the guy who was presenting the whole thing just happened to be Scott Wicklund, and so he also came across as a pretty fun, exciting guy, and seemed like cool people to work with. So that was the first time in my life I actually knew what I wanted to do. And I told all my friends, I want to be a smoke jumper someday. I had no idea how to go about it. And years went by, I was in college, kind of forgot about it a little bit. And then I started getting into fire down in New Mexico. And, kind of got me thinking I should try and jump again, or try to get into smoke jumping. And so I talked to some people and got on the right track for that. Did a few years hot shotting. And I didn't even know there was a jump base in Washington. I didn't really know much about anything at that point, and so I just applied everywhere. I had no real choice. I'd be happy to get picked up anywhere, as most rookies are. So I got the job to rookie at NCSB in 2008, and after making it all through rookie training, we have to watch our tour video, which we have to show to all the tour groups that come through. Just a really nice way to show the...
know it by heart.
Yeah.
Everybody's got it memorized.
Yeah, it's a really nice way to show some of the things that we can't show on the tour, like actual jumping out of planes and fighting fire. And lo and behold, it was the actual video that I'd seen 10 years previous that has Scott Wicklund presenting the, what smoke jumping is to the world. So I couldn't believe it. I obviously hadn't seen the video since then or really even thought about it. And then, I actually get to meet the guy 10 years later. He's Scott Wicklund. I said, man, you're the guy who got me into smoke jumping. You're the reason I wanted to do this job. And he looked at me, he's like, man, I'm sorry. But no, he was really great to work with, and he liked hearing that story, even though it made him feel pretty old. He'd been jumping for almost 10 years at that point, and I was still in high school, so now he'd been jumping almost 20 years. And I think he appreciated it, and I felt really lucky to be able to work next to the guy who made me want to do the job and to ultimately become friends with him. And just as good a guy as he was, exactly like he was in the video, honest and open and friendly and always cheering. So.
Secret weapon, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody that I've ever seen has jumped out of the plane with so much gusto as Scott. Like, some people looks like they don't even really want to get out of the door, but he just yell, Yahoo! So loud that, even the pilot could hear him up front, and, and know that was Scott who just jumped out. And then on the ground out in Washington, I don't think anybody else was as happy to get those fires. Like, if you ask Scott what were your favorite fires or best jumps, he's like always 5 minutes outside the base, because you got the beautiful North Cascades, and I think that's where he just, happy in the winter time there, happy in the summer, spring and fall. That was his home. So it was inspiring to work with him, and just a great friend, great coworker.
It was funny, you were saying how he cheered every time he jumped out of the plane. Like, after he got back from that autoimmune disorder, every time you were on the load with Scott, they'd get the slap and he'd just gone. And you could tell he was just stoked to be out there.
Yeah, he's a secret weapon, man. He's one of the true guys that had the true love for the job and was there for all the right reasons. A lot of us there for so long, it's just kind of you're coming back a career or something, but he was always there, knowing, that's what he wants to be and loves it, and all the right reasons no other person would have on the load, or good time, hard worker, and just, pride in your days. It's a great dude, man.
Yeah, and as a spotter, the spotter's the person who kicks the jumpers out the door. He almost felt like he was jealous watching you jump out, like damn, I'm going to move this guy aside and take his spot.
Yeah. So I never wanted to do that, yeah. It's like, I'll take away from my jumping. So.
Yeah, his very last fire was in 2011. It was the last fire jump of the season for a lot of us. And we jumped in the Mount Adams Wilderness, the north side of Mount Adams, about 5,000 feet, and you know, you jump out and the mountains just boom right in front of you, and all you can see is glaciers, and land in this huge soft meadow. And man, Scott was just cheering the whole time, and we ended up staying out there for 5 days because it was a mist tactics fire, and he said it was one of the best fires, probably top 3 fires of his entire life. So
the thing is, he could bring it back to you too, like with his photography and just his stories, and like, you know, telling a story. He'd always do the end of the year video for years and years, and we'd always throw in the sweet skiing pictures and stuff, like getting ready for the winter.
Yeah,
it's just like
just because the season's just because the season's done doesn't mean the fun stops. You get, you know, fun at the beginning, fun all the way through, fun at the end. We all just have our own fun in the winter.
My name is Sean Bold. I'm the Director of Snow Sports at Crystal Mountain currently. Been in that position for about 7 years. But at any rate, I met Scott, must have been probably about 1989, 88, 89 in Wenatchee Valley College. We were in the ski program together. Scott was an enormous inspiration to me. Taught me how to jump off of a cliff properly, and talked me into doing some crazy and wild things that I never imagined I could get away with. So I always remember Scott as a kind, happy soul, somebody with a smile on his face and a positive outlook. And I learned a lot of things from Scott. I learned how to you know, kind of live the life that we've always talked about in the ski world, and living like every day is your last. And I'll always remember Scott for that, and forever indebted to him for showing a young 19-year-old how to get it done. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Russell Betteridge. I met Scott on one ski day, and halfway up the first chairlift we realized we knew a lot of the same people and fast friends. We skied the rest of the day together. That's burned in my mind forever. Some of the stuff we were doing, ducking ropes and skiing areas that were just pristine in the middle of the ski area that I never knew. He was showing me, I thought I knew Alpental pretty well, but he was showing me spaces and places to ski that just blew my mind, and still to this day I can see him jumping off of these cliffs and landing down near me that, you know, it was obvious he was showing me the skills that he had, and I still aspire to ski and to live life the way Scott did, so thanks.
Yahoo, brother.